Welcome back. So, for the benefit of the listener, we just did 40 minutes of podcast, which just completely and utterly fell into a screaming heap. Not that anybody was screaming, but certainly one of us was just going, ugh. And as you can see from the resulting body language is still there. So this is the 21st or the 20th podcast. And the last time this happened was at the sixth podcast, which is no longer available. So the other one I think we'll keep. That this is the ones the turkeys end up on the Patreon. So that'll be the irony for us. Is like you can pay $1 a month to get the shit that we've discarded. That's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right. So what we started off discussing was Sky Muster versus Starlink, and for the benefit of that, I think it is interesting. I will broadcast at you for a couple of minutes, and then we'll move on to what you want to discuss. Because what it just turned into was men are talking, be quiet, and for a length of time...
You're talking at me for 40 minutes.
Yes. All right. Anyway, so... in technology news today, there's a Senate estimates thing about Skylink and... Sky Muster and Starlink. Starlink is Elon Musk's one, and Sky Muster is the NBN one. So in short, really, really quickly, what was interesting about it is that Starlink now has the same number of subscribers as what Sky Muster does. And Starlink has gone from 0 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers now in like 18 months. We were one of the first people to have it. And Sky Muster is the one that everybody owns. We spent a fortune on it. It's a complete turkey. It's not fit for purpose. If it was 1995 and you were putting up an Ozstar satellite to provide cable television to the outback and regional Australia, that is what it is fit for purpose for. It is no longer fit for purpose for anything other than the most niche, data-based, moving
think of anything.
Data around. So what came out of it that was really interesting and that I just nearly got into a divorce over was the fact that even the idiots in the Australian Senate are starting to go, hang on a second, we need to ask some pointy questions. And really, I don't know if it got as far as the pointy questions they need to be asking is, do we even keep the lights on with this heap of crap? And I don't know if they got that far or not. So if the wife will indulge me just for another 1 or 2 minutes just to talk about the difference in specs for those listening, for their benefit, not ours, which is, in real world terms, Starlink right now, it costs we have it, we use it, we were one of the first, it's good. It's 140 Australian dollars a month. It's all you can eat. Sky Muster is like more than $100 a month, and it's definitely capped, and it's capped at something that wouldn't keep a teenager in data for more than a few days, maybe a week. So it can't compete on price. In terms of speed, you can download, so your dodgy download of something will come down at 10 megabytes a second. We've observed that 10, like, if you're downloading a 10 megabyte file, that can come down in a second on Starlink. On Sky Muster, the theoretical maximum is going to be, I was going to say, it's about 25 megabits per second. So if you divide that by 8, you get 3.5 megabytes per second compared to the 10 megabytes per second in real world. So its theoretical maximum is like nearly 3 times slower than Starlink's real world observed performance, right? And what we also talked about, slightly interestingly, but I lost her, is that the way Starlink works versus Sky Muster is that Sky Muster has a couple of satellites that are way out in a geosynchronous orbit, so they're 600 milliseconds to get a request out. Oh, it's actually, sorry, I beg your pardon, 300 milliseconds to get a request out and 300 milliseconds for it to come back. So it's a 600 millisecond round trip.
Yep.
Where on Starlink, it's a 20 millisecond trip. So it'll be 20 milliseconds out, 20 milliseconds back on average. So we observe around 35 to 40 milliseconds for a round trip, right?
Yeah.
Which is about the same kind of sorta as what you get in an average wired connection. So to really summarise it, Starlink is competitive in performance, in technical performance to like your average wired NBN connection, and it's more competitive if you're willing to spend that. If you can afford that $140 a month, it's more competitive because it's uncapped. So because even
truly uncapped.
It's truly uncapped. So even at that sort of tiers in NBN, I think, because $140 is getting up there on that sort of tier. I'm still thinking you're probably still going to be like, you can only do, let's say for argument's sake, 500 gigabytes a month or something.
I don't even know. I don't even look at any of that stuff because I think it's all shit.
Because it's all shit. So anyway, so that was something that came out. So I thought it was noteworthy that it was happening in the Senate, and it was also noteworthy that
they're not talking about the NBN; they're just talking about Sky Muster.
Just talking about the Sky Muster part of NBN. So again, very quickly, there's 3 bits of the NBN. There's 2 wireless things, if you like, and then the wired. And then the wired you can actually put into more things as well. Was that the wireless is one's a satellite based and one's mobile based. In both cases, they're not fit for purpose, and there is competing commercial technologies that are better, cheaper, faster, more effective, all of the above. And we always knew that was going to happen. And then there's the wired, if you like, NBN, which shouldn't be fucking wired. It should be completely and utterly optic fibre. But as you get into that, there's some that are, optic fibre parts to it. So that's like the fibre to the node. So it goes to a box in the street, and then from the box in the street, inexplicably, it goes down to copper. Because the argument for them from Malcolm Turnbull, who definitely knew better, is that, we'll just use the copper for the last mile because it exists and we can use it. But the reason was that they were sold a pup. Is all the copper was shit. And everyone from the average bod in the street that went, my phone's always scratchy and shitty, knew that it was shit, to the techs that were definitely telling them this stuff's all duct tape and baling wire, literally, to experts like my good self going, are you out of your fucking mind? And here's where we end up. So what's funny is that Starlink is going to eat,
it already has,
2/3 of the functionality of the NBN's lunch. And it was the point that in 18 months it has the same amount of subscribers as Sky Muster, which we also discussed, that Sky Muster, the people that are still subscribing to it, are like your grandmother in 2000 that had a flip phone just for emergencies that didn't realise that she was paying $40 or $50 a month for and never made calls on it.
And it won't work.
And
probably.
It will only be fit for purpose for what the technology would support, which would be hilariously Netflix. You could watch Netflix on it. You could move data around.
Yeah.
Be alright for doing your backups, as long as you didn't mind the fact that waiting to upload, downloading, so bringing in large quantities of data, it's okay.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to have a data, I'm going to need the cheap stock prices or something, like some database that's going to come down here. This is real 1980s stuff.
Yeah.
Like some database that you want to bring down, it'll work for that. Cost you the same amount of Starlink, which you could, play video games on and have access to the world's best pornography. So there you go.
Starlink's good.
That was the first thing that we wanted to do, and I've managed to do that in 9 minutes. So 4 times quicker. And the wife is now back. What would you like to discuss? And don't say nothing, or I'm going to reach over this table and wring your neck after just doing it again. But I do like the idea of our Patreon being the shit that was so bad. Just us ending in, so are we done or what? Not everyone can be a
You've met me.
Yes, I know. This is the point. And as somebody was saying to us yesterday, the way this works is that we are very different. And when I start ranting and raving,
yeah,
that They
made a decision next. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but the point was just to be a little bit meta for a moment and discuss. The thing is, on one hand, I completely agree with you that if you're not interested, then it doesn't work, right? So I completely agree with you. But on the other hand, there still has to be a little bit of, yes, dear, you're one of the smartest people I know. Yeah, you understand all of this. Not the fuckwit that's listening. Good morning, fuckwit that's listening.
I'm not saying that fuckwit that's listening. What am I saying? Just that...
Sometimes you zone out.
That too.
And you glaze over because it's like, I'm not interested in anything you're saying. Despite the fact that you find it very interesting.
I do, but on a superficial level.
So you're very you are rude and superficial. I've always thought so.
So anyway.
All right, moving right along. What else do you have? I have a couple of other things. While you're figuring out what you want to do, I can very quickly say, how did the bar go on the weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Completely and utterly uninteresting, which is good.
Before you do that.
All right.
The only thing that
that was it. That was done. That was bar news. Nothing happened. Excellent.
Okay, cool.
It made good money. There was no problems.
No dickheads.
I didn't even go in on Friday.
Yeah. Happy
Fine,
days.
Thanks. And as you would say, next.
Yeah. I was reading an article this morning in the news called the 15-minute city conspiracy theory. Have you seen that one?
Yeah. I know a little bit about this.
I didn't quite get to the point where the 12-year-old has become the face of it. I don't know who the 12-year-old is, but...
Greta Thunberg?
No.
Thunberg the younger?
No. But yeah, it was interesting.
Pitt the elder?
Yeah, trying to figure out... They've turned their attention to urban planning for some reason. It's like, okay, cool.
As I understand that, the conspiracy theorists of it think that they're trying to turn us into some sort of dystopian zones where everything's within a particular zone and you won't be allowed to leave it.
Right.
That's the real conspiracy theory stuff, as I understand it. And, to their credit, like it was like, every prepper, 2 years ago, every lunatic prepper was like, shit, they were right.
Yeah.
Well, there is some... maybe a little bit of, evidence for that.
Yeah.
I don't think that. But what did you hear? Because I don't know it. I haven't been following it.
No. So the 15-minute city is an urban planning concept where neighbourhoods provide residents with the basic things they need: shops, schools, parks, leisure options, healthcare within a 15-minute radius by foot or bike.
Right, so a suburb, yes.
What suburbs used to be. That's why I'm just saying, they say, from mid-last century, that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, they've all made everything that you need a car to get to it, and urban sprawl and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And the 15-minute city is a pushback against that. So urban planners are trying to get back to the point where you have a neighbourhood and the shit that you need is in your neighbourhood. And I don't see a problem with that.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
So here's what I would say, right? The old adage of government, if it's not prohibited, it's compulsory. And I will give you two examples, one of which is back in the 90s. Here's a funny example. So I bought my first house in 1997. And in 1997, in the Shire of Wingecarribee, if you put up a water tank for your house and council saw it, they would issue with a notice to remove it. 10 years later, because they were unsightly, 10 years later, you cannot build a house without having a water tank. And I'm sure 30 years earlier, you wouldn't have been able to build a house without a water tank because, you'd be mad not to. Governments just need to fucking get out of the way on things like that.
But I don't agree with trying to make everything foot or bike.
If it's not prohibited, it's compulsory.
Because again, the bike lanes in Sydney just came to mind. I'm like, you've taken space away from
efficient means of transport. Yeah. And then you build all these bike lanes and they don't use them anyway.
No, because nothing is within 15 minutes. You haven't fixed the problem. You've just put the bikeway in.
No. But this is the difference. This is the disconnect. Like our friends in the Senate estimates asking questions about Startlink. And hilariously, if I was asked to go in there, I would behave more like you behaved earlier with my eyes go down and said, we told you this 20 years ago, you fucking idiots.
Yeah.
stop being so I don't even want to talk to you now because you didn't listen to me then.
I was saying, when does the class action start? Because they've actually not been delivering the service, but they've been taking the money for it for Sky Muster.
We buried in the terms and conditions from some asshole like you that would have put them in the document. I'm sure that's covered.
Because,
best effort.
I'd like a refund, please.
All
and how long have you known that
responsibility.
it's not delivering what you say it is?
From before we actually leave and launch the fucking satellite.
I'll have a refund, thanks. Yeah.
Good luck with that. Good luck. No,
so anyway.
It's not going to happen. But that 15-minute stuff, what I was going to say on that is that a lot of it, look, let's hope it works, right? But a lot of it is like what you've seen in council. You've seen the people that write these policies.
Oh, yeah.
Just out of touch, fuck. Oh, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great? But what's the reality of it? The reality of it, which also comes back to if it's not prohibited, it's compulsory, is that it's just like 1970s design where they go, oh, right, and this is the thing that brought you suburbs like Claymore in New South Wales and Macquarie Fields and all the rest of it. There's one road in and there's one road out. There's like a big satellite lump of houses and curved streets and all, because that was all, the Canberra style. No fucking street was straight. Oh, that's bad. We want curves and and it makes people more. There's if you get involved in that, you can see a whole heap of reasoning, and it could be right, it could be wrong. It's been shown wrong. Oh yeah, that's where so we'll have a residential precinct and then we'll have a commercial precinct over there, right? And there's one road connecting them. Again, it's stuff that looks great on paper, and that's going to be great. So all over there was no commercial zoning. So if you did say, hey, I'd like to build a shop or something, because there's all these people here in the middle of the day, like back then, they don't have a second car and maybe they just need bread and milk. Well, good luck getting that through fucking council. Where 50 years earlier, there would have been tons of it. And you continually see, so everything old is new again. But it's when they start instituting, and this is a very Australian thing, right, okay, we need to improve the culture, so we're going to have culture on Tuesday, and that culture is going to operate from 9am to 11:26 Tuesday through Thursday, unless it's in the second half of the just gets strangled. Just let people be. Because then you go on holidays. This is me. I'm in rant mode. You go to holidays and you go to these places, and do you know why you enjoy them? Because it's fucking free. Yeah, it's a ramshackle. You go to fucking Thailand or something like that, and hilariously, at the upper end, it ain't really all that free.
No.
And at the bottom end, it really ain't that free. But in the middle, it's just, I'm going to get a beer and sit on the beach and have a drink. Fine. I'm going to go and have a dance with what I'm pretty sure is a pretty young female. Fine. I'm going to go and get some food from a food vendor that's
on the side
of the road. Great.
Which still has permit shit in some countries, but they don't.
Yeah.
They don't crack down on it.
Yeah. And everyone just and I'm going to go and hire a car from a guy when the dude's clearly living out the back and stuff like, and it's fun and it's free and you can go and do what you want.
Yeah.
In Australia, no fucking way. Unless you're a particular class of people. And only very recently. And that particular class of person is you're homeless or mentally ill or, formerly male or something. And
that was on my list
and then
as well.
And then you seem to get a huge pass, which...
But I'm sick of talking about gender.
Yeah, I'm bringing that up incidentally. And for Christ's sake, I'm not getting involved in that either. But not at the moment, not today. We'll have to have
not today, lady.
The gender podcast. Not today. She, they, lady. You cisgender
turf. Anyway.
Turf. But anyway, so the 12. I don't know enough about it. So and why? Well, here's the question I'll put to you. What the fuck does 12? Who cares about a 12-year-old?
I don't know. I'm scrolling and I still haven't got there. So don't know where the 12-year-old comes into it. Yeah. Again, where is Greta?
How dare you?
Yeah,
You've ruined my childhood.
But and all the crazies have latched onto it too, There's so many crazy people these days.
Too much time on their hands.
Yeah.
Like us. We're crazy people with too much time on our hands.
So I don't know. But, saying, TikTok. Again, TikTok is a problem.
It does seem to be. Can I talk about that for a second without you maybe not glazing over?
Maybe. Depends what you're going to say.
Something relevant to the conversation within my sphere of expertise and containing information that isn't known to the general public.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should you be sharing this if it's not for the general public?
As long as I leave names out of it, sure. So the only thing I find interesting about TikTok, so everybody knows what TikTok is now, right?
I am not on it.
No, good. Should have a look. But really the whole idea of it is that it's just relentless dopamine. So it's just YouTube but short, and you can't press stop. It just goes to the next video, and the videos have been done or cut or whatever chosen. The algorithm is obviously getting videos that are compelling really quickly, compelling within the first few seconds. So you sit there and you go, oh, right, I'm interested in that. So I'm sure that if you got on TikTok, it would all be stuff about whatever you're interested in, because clearly it's not going to just be a fire hose of fucking gender identity politics, because you'd go, fuck that, and it's going to be your sewing bullshit and animal porn. That could be taken out of context.
Yeah, dogs, lots of dogs.
Joy porn of dogs, and like, oh, look at them all using the
funny things.
Yeah, and funny dog things. So it's like, Jesus, that can be taken out of context. We're only interested in goats. So, and I won't hear a thing against it. Right, so anyway, so that's how it works. So I'm sure if I got on it, it'd all be this diesel generator and this farm thing. And I'm sure it'd sit there and you'd go, get the fuck off that thing. I'm going, oh no, this is really, really good.
Yeah, hours have passed.
Right. But when you're a kid and you're looking at stupid kid shit, and obviously they might steer you one way or another, you go it drags you. Not only do you run down the ragged hole, the hand comes out, grabs you by the head and pulls you down, right? That's what I get from it. And then it's taking all your data and all the rest of it. So, and the insidious thing, which I haven't seen any evidence of, but it's really interesting, that Chinese know this and they don't let their kids use it, and the stuff that they are definitely, it's not shit that they necessarily are interested in, want to see, but it's look at these positive things to make you a better citizen, comrade. We should be doing more of that, right? Which I did think, as an aside for a second, I did think that the other day when they were talking about the shit that gets like, I don't know what made me think of it, but like, the stuff that, I do remember what I was thinking of. The bullshit that do you want to collect this stuff at Coles? Like, do you want to, are you collecting the Harry Potter
brick things that they keep asking me
or
about
whatever?
Woolworths, yeah.
Why not so here's me doing a bit of social engineering. Why don't you make them educational? So let's not make them out of plastic to begin with, but paper's fine.
They had books for a bit.
Yeah, why don't we do more of that?
They had kids'
and why don't we
books.
make it compelling?
Yeah, and they weren't, but they were, again, because I either grab some if the neighbours are collecting them, because again we don't have kids, but it was kid books, like young kid books, so like Mr. Men books was a thing.
But even
for
if it's just
5 seconds,
let it be just colouring in.
Yeah.
Like sit down and shut up and be quiet for a second.
Well, I've collected all the glassware.
That's positive. Well, that's positive for the adult stuff, but for the kid stuff, like these hopeless block things, like you can still have it be branded, and you can still have it fucking produced by Disney or have Star Wars shit all over it. But do you think of some way to make it slightly educational?
It's like Lego-y things, I think.
Yeah, so maybe it is, but how about even more overt? Like even if it's a Lego thing, it's hand-eye coordination. How about a little bit of mathematics? How about a little bit of...
How about you collect a certain number of things and it gets to a level and you get a voucher to go and do an online course? Like,
yeah. Or
for a kid, like coding, or go and learn something.
Yeah.
Because you're spending money on groceries anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, it should be... Maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, for whatever reason...
Poor people can get access to things that they don't. But again, get on YouTube.
So going back to TikTok anyway, so here's the other thing. So I know a person who shall definitely remain nameless, that is working for a large company that everybody's heard of, that shall definitely remain nameless, that has actually a contract with the US government to work on a version of TikTok that, as he said, which is hilarious because it's exactly the same expression I'd use, and this is basically the project, is to put the cork on the fork. Which is that they know it's pointy and they know that, if it's stabbing people with it. You still get a fork, but it's got a cork on it. And that's what they're working on. And they've been working on it for some time, and it's not really getting anywhere. So there's definitely all those rumours going around of they're going to do a US version of TikTok. I can say unequivocally, yep. I know people with PhDs that are working on this for a big multinational IBM-like American company that is absolutely and utterly funded, underwritten by the US government.
Well, the more I hear about TikTok, the more I am convinced, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, the more I'm convinced, though, that it is definitely a tool in the Chinese arsenal to undermine certain things.
It's psyops, but it's soft psyops. It's not hard. We're not dropping leaflets.
No, they're not putting little red books in the back of the picture.
It's nudging,
yeah.
which is
distraction.
Yeah, nudging, making everyone fight amongst each other.
Yeah.
So
it's the British rule. The British.
well, you're talking about the British thing, but that's how we always partition these things when we grant these people their independence. We partition them.
Yeah, get them all to fight amongst themselves, and then they're not fighting us. It's fine.
Yeah, that was the Yes Minister quote. It's like we always petitioned, like we did in Ireland and India, Palestine, and it's like, didn't that always lead to civil war? It did in Ireland, India, and Palestine. It's like, yes, but it saved us having a foreign policy on them. They'd let them squabble amongst themselves.
But even Blair White mentioned it the other day. Why the Chinese kids are in school and learning robotics and eating our lunch. And we mentioned that when we were in Singapore. In a shopping centre in Singapore, you go in and you learn things. There was a robotics one, there was a 3D printer one, there was a cooking school. It wasn't all just hard for the maths and science, but go and learn
vocational,
something.
Go and learn something. And it was stuff that you'd be interested in. So, as an aside
Instead
for a
of
second...
sitting in a fucking mall here, smoking bongs and yelling at people.
And stealing shit and carrying on like arseholes. Here, let's look in... The future is here. So if you want to go and see what the future of malls should be, go to Funan Mall in Singapore City. In the mall, all the usual shit you'll find in a mall. Well, this is what they're going to become, right? So down on the bottom levels, food, services. So you can still get your nails done, whatever. Services, shit you can't post. Amazon can't post you a new set of nails.
McDonald's on the bottom floor.
Happy days, right? So lots of food, cool. They've got a great food culture. That's the reason we go to Singapore. The other thing they've got in there, which we still have in our malls, stationery that's awesome, and computer shops and things like that, all those sort of things that you want, where you can also get posted to your shore, but it's very tactile. You want to go and look at it, you want to play it, you want to try it out. Cool. Should still have that in malls. Here's the shit we don't have. There was a cooking school. There was a sewing school.
That's right, I forgot about that.
There was a learn to fly. There was a learn to fly school. They had helicopter simulators and things. What else was in? There was robotics.
3D printing.
There was 3D printing. So there was all these really well fitted out, really good, useful, and like the cooking school, for instance, because they saw there, it had, to the best I could see, it had definitely points along. If you do this one, and this one, you get this formally government certificate that's a qualification that's recognised, that you go and you can go work as a pastry chef in any of these jobs.
As well as, I think if I remember, because I did read it because I was interested, that you can go and do a short course and learn how to make bread, or like if you're because again, there's a lot of Singaporeans who are a stay-at-home mum who's looking at, Mrs. Well-to-do, goes, I'd like to learn how to bake today, and off they go. So there was that. And then there was also, remember down on the bottom floor too, so again, comparing Launceston to Funan Mall in Singapore.
Jesus Christ.
So Launceston Mall has rough nuts, I'll describe them as, kids sitting around in their fucking tracksuit pants and their baseball caps, smoking, drinking, don't know what. But anyway, just layabouts on the mall furniture. Whereas in Funan, on the mall furniture downstairs, it was all on their laptops, with their headphones on, with their phones, free Wi-Fi. Remember there's that tiered space where it was almost like a co-working space rather than just a layabout space? And they're all sitting down there, I don't know, writing their latest app. I don't know what the fuck they were doing.
Allow me to...
But it was definitely And they're Asian kids too, so white kids
dare you.
versus Asian kids.
Well, allow me to retort, and in a way, to begin with, it sounds like I'm disagreeing with you, but then I'm going to say something else, is that, and then go out at 11 o'clock at night in Singapore, over the road, and what do you find? Whole heaps of people hanging around in their things, pissed out of their heads. Here's the difference, though, and this is the...
But they can do both, right?
They can do both. And I think ours are only doing one, right?
Yeah.
And the second thing is, which is hilarious and comes back to my idea of freedom, it's Singapore. Could you imagine if everybody, all the kids, like middle-class kids, were all literally shit yourself drunk in the middle of town? They'd bring in a fucking SWAT team. But there,
Singapore's very regimented too.
Singapore is a police state.
Yes.
It is a genuine bona fide police state. But in Singapore, at 11 o'clock at night, I could go out there, sit there, and have a beer with all these fucking kids kicking around, even though it'd be creepy. I wouldn't.
Singing at the top of their voices.
Singing and all the rest of them, making a great big fucking
and
nuisance of
then
themselves.
vomiting in the bushes.
But they're not being cunts.
No.
Like, they mean well.
Yes.
They're socialising because they live in, like, apartment buildings.
Yes.
They're out there socialising with their friends and they're hanging out and they're allowed and it's tolerated and it's fine because they're not causing any trouble.
As a single female too, there's no feeling of menace. I don't feel unsafe if I'm wandering around at night time when they're all singing and spewing in the bushes.
Definitely places that you can.
Absolutely. If I go a bit further out, I remember when you took me to the red light district and I was definitely not welcome.
Geylang,
that was weird.
The real red light district, not full floors of whores.
The record had scratched when I came in. Hello, okay, I'm leaving.
They're just looking at me. It's like, is he going to sell her or what? It's like, thinking about it.
So yeah, there's definitely, we need to sort that out because just let China in.
I think.
Hail, comrade.
Oh Jesus! I think we'll see what happens. Talking about international news, which is worrisome at the moment, is that all the West is doing now is pushing China and Russia closer together, which is a really, really stupid idea. But they're going to keep doing it, so we'll see how we go. But so where do we go from there? So we're talking about TikTok and then Singapore, but
we definitely need a pause button because I've had 2 cups of tea and I'm ready to go.
Have you got anything else you want to discuss though, or that'll do?
That'll probably do.
So we did we had a full start where we started talking about things which I thought would be about as long as what we did end up talking about in the second go, but didn't work. That's fine. But I think we've had a reasonable chat.
We're figuring it out.
But so we mentioned Sky Muster and Startlink. We talked about the bar. That was really quick. I was going to say, not much going on in local politics either at the moment to discuss. If you can hold on literally for another couple of minutes.
No.
I think there's generally always fuck all going on in the mornings. All right, you're off.
I need to pee.
That's okay. I will finish off the podcast without you. So, what do you want to talk about while she's not here? All in the background, I can hear you. Anyway, so that's all. So thanks very much for listening. The only other thing with some housekeeping for the podcast is that we must get this thing on actual podcast listening apps, not just YouTube. So I'll endeavour to do that over the next day or two. Anyway, thank you for listening. Off you go, my children. Watch out for wolves.